Welcome to today's episode on authentication methods in Azure Entra ID. In this session, we'll explore the key authentication protocols used in Azure Entra ID, used to be called Azure Active Directory. This will include protocols like OAuth, SAML, and OpenID Connect. We will also cover MFA, multi-factor authentication, some best practices for configuration, and also this passwordless authentication. So we will learn about the capabilities of passwordless authentication as well. So let's get started. Let's begin with Azure AD authentication protocols. The first one will be OAuth. Now, what is OAuth? Well, it's in the name. OAuth is an authorization protocol that allows secure access to resources without sharing user credentials. Now, how it actually works? Well, OAuth is commonly used for API access and integrating third-party applications with services like M365 or Microsoft 365. For example, when a third-party application needs permission to access Microsoft 365 cloud interface data, OAuth will grant this access without exposing user credentials. So that is the responsibility of OAuth. The next is SAML. Now, SAML. SAML is a protocol used for SSO, single sign-on, which authenticates user between identity providers and service providers. This is commonly used in many platforms, but it is widely used in enterprise applications. First, the enterprise application must be registered, but if it is done like that, then SAML can be used. Now, enterprise application can be like Salesforce or Workday. And it also supports identity federation for both cloud as well as on-premises resources. The next is OpenID Connect. Well, OpenID Connect is an extension of OAuth. It adds authentication features for SSO. Now, how it actually works? It uses ID tokens to securely authenticate users. OpenID Connect is commonly used for web or mobile applications to provide a smooth authentication experience. Next, let's talk about MFA. MFA, multi-factor authentication, can be enabled for a single user or for all the user through Azure portal under security settings. You can also make other changes. There are multiple features provided by MFA. Now, what will be the method? Here you can choose from multi-authentication or multiple authentication methods such as SMS code, email, Authenticator app, or even biometrics, that is fingerprints and facial recognition. But remember, for every authentication method, hardware requirement might be necessary, especially for biometrics. The next is conditional access. You can apply MFA based on factors such as user location, device, or even the risk level for the sign-in or the user itself. So MFA can actually complement conditional access. They can work together. Now, best practices. Well, the first one is enforce MFA for all the users, especially for admin accounts or high-risk accounts. MFA should be mandatory, and it is actually, because now even Microsoft wants every organization to enable MFA. The next thing you can do is use Microsoft Authenticator app or application on your phone or tablets. Now, this application provides a more secure and reliable MFA experience, as it supports push notification for one-tap authentication, where you just get a code, let's say 52 or any number. You go to your cell phone, you put that code and say sign in, and you will be signed in on your session. The next best practice which you can apply is backup operations or backup options. Here, you have to ensure that users have backup options like a phone call or alternative email for those without a smartphone access. So this simply means that don't just choose or select only one method for MFA. Give multiple options to your users. This will be more secure, and also this will provide a flexible approach to utilize MFA to a wide range of employees or users. The next is regular review. Well, reviews must be conducted at a set frequency, and MFA policies must be updated if there is any change in, let's say, compliance or requirement of the organization. You can only change it, or you can only detect that something needs to be changed if you do regular reviews. And the next one is train your users. Well, providing training on how to actually set up MFA, or how to register for the first time, and how to actually recognize any phishing attempts or attacks. Now, this training will be required every time an organization hires a new batch. So, regular training is very important. Now, let's explore passwordless authentication in Entra ID. What is passwordless authentication? Well, it is in the name, passwordless. It simply means that passwordless authentication will allow all your users in your organization to log in securely without the need for traditional username and password set. This reduces the risk of phishing attacks or password-based attacks, or even employees' mistake when they write their password and put it somewhere. So there is no need to do that. You're removing that factor. That is what it makes passwordless authentication more secure. Now, the next concept is the methods. The first method is Windows Hello. Think about Face ID in your iOS ecosystem. This allows users to authenticate via biometrics, like your face data or facial recognition. Or you can also use PIN on your Windows device. That can also be regarded as passwordless. But Windows Hello is for facial recognition. Remember, to use this, your laptop or the hardware is actually required. A special hardware is required. That special hardware may include an IR emitter or the camera which can sense the IR emission. Now, before we move forward, IR is infrared. Basically, it's a light spectrum which you cannot see. So your laptop must have that hardware in it. Otherwise, you cannot use that functionality of Windows Hello. The next is Microsoft's Authenticator app. I will say the most common and the most used method. Even I use that. Here, users can sign in with just one tap, or they can receive a push notification for authentication on their device. So yes, they do need their device with them. Yes, there is a chance that someone can still attack their account or session, but overall, Authenticator app provide a much stronger layer of security. The next one is FIDO keys or FIDO2 security keys. Now, these are physical devices which you can buy from Amazon or you can buy from a vendor. They look like a normal USB key. These keys actually enable secure passwordless login by using public key cryptography. So in that USB key, When you buy it or when you just purchased it, it is empty, it cannot be used. So it must be configured first by your organization. Once it is configured, that key will have a set of encrypted code in it. When you plug that key in, you will be logged in. Now, what are the benefits of using all of these methods, or at least few of these methods? The first one is enhanced security. It will actually boost your security posture. Well, passwordless methods reduce the attack surface by eliminating the traditional username and password set. So now, your users do not have to write their password somewhere, or they don't have to set up a very easy password which can be guessed by anyone. The next is QoS, quality of service, or you can say user convenience. Well, using passwordless authentication methods will simplify the sign-in process, and it improves the overall user experience. How about compliance? Some organizations may have strict compliance. So passwordless authentication do meet modern authentication standards as well, and also the requirements by government or some organization, because they use the up-to-date technologies like FIDO2. What are the best practices, again, to use passwordless authentication? Remember, MFA will still be the king, because multi-factor authentication force your user to provide multiple factor to make sure that that user is not an attacker. So you should also enable MFA alongside passwordless authentication for even higher added layer of security and protection. You should also encourage users to use Microsoft Authenticator app or FIDO keys for more secure access. So training is still required. You need to train them. Now let's go to our lab and check where we can set up the authentication methods and how actually change the whole sequence of getting authenticated to access a service or application. All right, now let's check out the authentication methods. Basically, I use my credential with my username and password. So that is the method I use to log into my portal. But if in your organization you want to change it, where will you actually go? So you go to Entra. Under Manage, you click on Security. And over here, you will click on Manage again. And you will see Authentication Methods. This is where you will decide that which type of authentication method you want to use for your organization. Remember, you can also select the authentication method for everyone or a selected group. That depends on the situation. As you can see, we have passkey, Microsoft Authenticator, SMS, temporary access pass, and so many more options. The most famous and the common one is Authenticator app. So let's say you select this one. You click on it, you enable it, and then you make a decision. Do you want it to do for all the user or a selected group? If you select a group, then you can add one. Let's say I add demo G1. And over here you can decide, do you want it to be totally passwordless or you want it to be a push notification? So let's say I want passwordless. That is the best way possible, where the Azure will send you a code. You will go to your phone and put in that code. Once authenticated, Azure will actually sign you in. And then you just simply save it. Now, moving forward, your users can use this authentication method. But remember, they still have to register themselves. So there is still a process which needs to be followed first. Now, one more thing. Once a user is registered, let's say the user changed the phone, but the old phone is still registered. How will you remove the old metadata collected by Azure? Basically, for every user who have registered with a different authentication method or passwordless authentication, You can go to that user. Again, this is just an example. I have demo user 1. Then on that user profile page, you will go to authentication method. Over here, you will see all the registered phone or authentication method that user is using. If you want to revoke all the old sessions, you can click on Revoke Multi-Factor Authentication Sessions. Or if you want the user to re-register a new cell phone or to re-register with a new authentication method, you can also click on Require Re-registration. And that's it. So this is how you use authentication method in your environment. Please remember, there are multiple authentication methods. You may have to use it all to actually learn it. And every authentication method will have a different implementations. All right, let's check out how authentication methods will actually work. In this demo, I will use the Microsoft Authenticator application. So before that, I will show you the group I will use. So the group name is demo group number 1, and I registered one member, and the user is demo user 1. Perfect. And if this user already registered, right? So you can go to authentication method and you can remove all the metadata. As you can see, I don't have any. So this will be a fresh user. Now, I will go to, again, Entra ID, go to security, and then authentication methods. Then click on Authenticator application, this one, and make sure that group is there. So as you can see, I added this group and for passwordless, and it is enabled. So over here, the job is done. The user still cannot use this functionality because the user have to register first. So I will just open a new session, maybe an application on, let's say over here, portal.azure. Basically, I'm just gonna log in with that user, the demo user, and register extra information or additional information what Azure needs. So what is my user UPN? I will copy it from here. This one, demo user 1, I will copy it. And let's log in. Perfect. Enter the password. That is why incognito Windows is the best. I'd rather do that. All right, let's try it again. Or instead of going to Azure portal, this user can also go to Microsoft 365 admin portal. So I'll go there. That will be myaccounts.microsoft.com. What I want to show you is that this user have to register. So I will do that. Go back, log in. Perfect. And then this user have to go to security info. And add sign-in methods. Microsoft Authenticator is there because we actually assigned it. So click Next, Next. And now I will also open my phone. I'm mirroring in my phone just to show you. I open my Authenticator app. You can click on this plus button and then click on Work Account. Then click on Scan QR Code. So basically, I'm going to scan this QR code and this user will be registered. Click Next. Going to add the code here. All right, done. Now, if you click on this user on your phone, let's say I do this, as you can see, this user is registered. But if you want passwordless authentication to work, you can also add that functionality. You can sign in with this user now. So I will click on this add again, click on work and sign in. This way you will get all the functionality and feature set. So this will be demo user 01 at com. Enter the password. You may have to present the code now. You can click on get code. Only have 3 seconds, so I will wait for another code. All right, I will copy it. Paste it here, verify. All right. Let's secure your account. Continue. Register your device for passwordless authentication. I will click on register. So now my device is being registered. Click on register. This will not take that long, but wait for your registration process to complete. Do not close the application right now. Done. As you can see, my user is also registered and the passwordless sign-in is there. So let's try it. I'm going to close all the current sessions and go to the user. This is my user profile. Click on authentication methods, and as you can see, my iPhone is now registered. Plus, this user has also registered an Authenticator application. So now, let's say this user is trying to sign into any cloud service, which is again connected to Entra ID. For that, I will open a new session, incognito window, and let's go to portal. Type this username and click next. You can use your password to get in. This is the normal way. But if you don't want to use your password, you can also use your phone to actually sign you in. So I will log out again and I will sign in with a different method. All right, let's try it again. I gave it some time. So let's log in with that user. Demo user 01 at com. Here we go. Use app instead, not the password. So if you click on it, and I will also share my Authenticator app. So that's my application on my phone. I say use an app instead. And you will get a notification on your registered phone over here. You enter the number 56. Click yes. And here we go. This is how your passwordless authentication method works. Remember, this was just a demo and I was trying to do everything quickly. If you give enough time for every feature to update properly, then it will be flawless. Welcome back. I hope the lab was clear and now you know how easy it is to actually configure or enable authentication methods for a specific user, for all the users if you want as well. Now we can summarize this module. So in the summary, I will say that Azure AD or Entra ID offers a variety of authentication protocols such as OAuth, SAML, and even OpenID Connect, each serving a specific role in securing access across cloud as well as on-premises environment. We also covered the importance of MFA and the best practices for its configuration. This ensures high level of security. Finally, we also moved to passwordless authentication, which enhance both security as well as user convenience or experience. And it is actually an essential feature for modern authentication, where you see user using RFID swipe cards to sign in, or they use their fingerprint or their face data, or even their phone to sign in securely. Thank you for joining us today. I hope this episode has given you a comprehensive overview of authentication methods in Azure Entra ID. I will see you in the next episode.